Hello everyone, welcome. Thank you for being here today. Today's Yin Yoga class is going to be all about the earth element, which in the Chinese medical model, in the elemental model, there are 5 different elements. Each one is an archetype for various degrees of yin and yang energy. It's not absolute. As all systems are incomplete, so is the elemental system. But it's a nice guide. It's a nice mapping of energy so that we can seek out balance. And that's really the attempt of the elemental energies and describing them in this way, is to try to find balance. Now, the earth element is considered sort of the primary element. It nourishes all of the other elements. And this idea of nourishing the body, nourishing the mind, nourishing the whole system is something that's pervasive throughout this archetypal energy. We'll get further into that a little bit later, but now let's just come into a meditation. Now you could come to a seat like I'm in, simple cross-legged position, or you could come to your back, whatever works for you. The posture isn't as important as the drawing of attention in. And so whatever works, whatever is least distracting for now. And you can begin by softening the eyes. You don't necessarily have to close the eyes. For some people that can be uncomfortable. So we can just soften the eyes. And what I'd like you to do is just begin to draw your attention behind the eyes. So we're often very much used to looking out, relating with the external world, which is what eyes are for. But can we use the eyes to draw attention in? And so we start by feeling physically behind the eyes. And even further back into the brain. And even further back to the back of the skull. And notice what you find as you do this. It might be foreign territory for you. I ask you to approach it from a sense of curiosity, which is something that we want to bring to the entire class. And so we begin that process here and now. Drawing the attention back, and then allowing the attention, the awareness, the sensation, the feeling to inhabit the entire head, the whole skull, like you're feeling from the center of the brain out. We're not thinking about this. Perhaps a little bit of visualization helps you, especially if you're not used to this type of exercise. But what I want you to do is to start to prioritize or centralize sensation and feeling rather than thinking. And so we want to connect with the sensation of feeling into the depths of the head. In the very center. And then just allow that concentration of attention, of sensation, of feeling to begin to make its way down into the neck, and the shoulders, and just distributing itself throughout the entirety of the body. Not losing attention from the head, but just expanding from the head throughout the entirety of the body. So we're beginning to relate a little bit differently. Rather than being externally oriented, we're starting to become internally oriented. Rather than being oriented towards thinking, we're oriented towards sensation and feeling. And this is a very yin way of orienting. Yin is about receiving, about allowing, not actively doing, but creating the conditions to observe, to notice. And once again, this might be foreign territory, or we're so used to action and creating things. Here we're just trying to receive, to open to introspect. And as you draw the sensation through the body, you might start to notice a connection with the environment around you. Perhaps that space where the body meets the external environment becomes a little fuzzy. That's important. Because how we experience the body is much different than how we view the body sometimes, as something that's separate. How we experience the body is something a little bit more mystical, perhaps. Cloud of sensation. A word that comes up a lot when working with the earth element is natural and nurturing. So much of what we're attempting to do is to become in tune with the natural environment. And so as we move through class and we begin to take postures, we want to try to not just hold this sensation, but try to deepen it. Try to expand the awareness and create that connection of our body with the environment. And we as humans sometimes arrogantly think that we are separate from nature or are in control of nature. But we are nature. We come from the earth. We are beholden to the natural forces, the seasons, the weather. And so that this yin attitude of receiving and surrendering goes really well with this earth element. And so we just fall into the natural world's embrace. And deepen this relationship. As we begin to transition towards movement, let's just take a few deep breaths. So we'll exhale together. And then let's inhale, bringing the breath all the way down to the belly, expanding the belly, the rib cage, the chest, the shoulders, and then a nice natural exhale. Good. Let's do that again. Inhale, expanding in all directions. And then just letting the air go, not forcing, just let it go. Good. And let's do it again. Inhale. And exhale. Continue with that a few more rounds if you'd like to, but you can begin to just add some movement here. So you might just move the fingers and the wrists, and the shoulders. Approaching movement with curiosity rather than through patterning or something that you're used to. So allowing the body to be very intuitive. And so transitioning to what really nurtures the body here. So listening to the wisdom of the body. The body has a lot of wisdom to offer. Sometimes the mind gets in the way, concepts get in the way, but can we listen in deeply? Reaching and feeling, and then let's come forward here to all fours. And just move through the spine a bit. Maybe move the hips around in circles. Again, nothing prescribed here. We're just moving to move into those places, those spaces that perhaps need some attention. If you want something a little bit more active, maybe you lift up a bit and ignite a little bit more muscular energy. It's fine. And then eventually what we're going to do is just bring the knees wide, bring the toes in. They don't have to touch, but the feet come in towards each other. And we're just going to settle back into a wide-kneed child's pose. I always like to take a little time, though, just to bring the palms flat and the arms straight and just rock a little bit side to side. So just rolling the femurs in their sockets just to create a little bit of opening there. Lubing up the joint a bit. And I want the weight to be towards the heels. Doesn't mean that the hips are on the heels or anything like that. They may never get there due to various reasons, but we just want the weight back just so we're getting some pull on the inner legs here. And then we just bring the elbows down. Maybe you go here. Maybe you bring a prop underneath the chest. You're at home, so you can use whatever you have, a couch pillow or bed pillow, books, whatever you want to. That's the nice thing about being at home. Everything is a prop. Maybe you come down even further. What we want to watch out for is bringing the hips too far forward to where we lose sensation of the inner legs. Now, we're not going for some huge sensation. We want a nice, broad, mild sensation, so nothing crazy here, and don't require anything crazy. Just a nice, mild, broad sensation. Maybe you bring the head down to the hands. That's perfectly good. Or to something, and just stay here. Settle. We don't want to be rigid as we hold our postures. We want a sense of fluidity, a sense of movement. Just as we open, accommodating that movement by perhaps wiggling a little bit. But we want to be relatively still. Let's allow the heart to melt, the belly to release. And just settle in here. You don't have to worry about time here because I am keeping time. And so you can make your practice timeless. Sometimes we can anticipate the end of the posture. Let's try to just arrive in the posture without much concern with the amount of time that we're going to be here. If the sensation becomes too much, it becomes unbearable, then you just come out. It's that simple. Again, we're trying to tune ourselves to the body and trust in its natural wisdom. And so part of that is knowing when the pose has served you. And it's also true that you could stay a little bit longer. Again, this is your practice. It's not my practice. I don't want you to imitate what I do. Do what you need to do. The breath pattern here is just a really natural breath, allowing the body to breathe on its own. Very gentle. You may bring a little more emphasis to the exhale. That is just allowing the body to complete its exhale. Letting go all the way to the bottom. And the inhale is very natural and easeful. With the earth element, what's used as a symbol of the earth element is the idea of a mother, or archetypal mother. And the characteristics of the mother in this case is that of a nurturer, as a provider. Provider of nourishment and safety. Even if our mother wasn't the greatest symbol of the archetypal mother, we still can understand and know the type that we're talking about. A mother who is accommodating, loving, compassionate, stern when need be, but also yielding when necessary. And sometimes our best mother is ourselves. And so the question that the earth element brings up is how do I nourish myself? In what ways do I nourish myself? Now, participating in this yoga class, that's a way that you nourish yourselves for sure. But how do I bring nourishment to myself? And the inverse of that is, what are the things that I do that don't nourish me, that deplete me, that aren't good for me? We can see this on a micro level here. We can also see it on a macro level, on an earth level. How do we behave that helps sustain and nurture the earth? Because the earth nurtures us, it feeds us, it relieves our thirst, it provides us with a home. What do we give back to the earth? The microcosmic level, again, what are the things that I consume? Not just food, but what do I look at? What do I listen to? Do these things feed me in a nourishing and healthy way? Or are they just there for temporary satisfaction, of momentary pleasure? Perhaps you take a breath or two. And what we'll do is just crawl out all the way onto the belly. Make a little pillow with your arms and just lie there for a moment. After the yin postures, most of them, we just come to a very neutral, easy spot. A place that we can rest. We call it the rebound, where we can feel the resonance of the posture. This resonance might be physical, it might be mental, it might be emotional. It could happen on any level. It's happening on all levels. Sometimes we're not conscious of all of them. But we're not looking for anything in particular. We're looking for, looking to be just open, ready to receive. So this might manifest again as physical sensations such as tingling or achiness. It could manifest as a stream of thought or an emotion or memory. Again, anything is possible here. And then out of the rebound, we just begin to move again. So you might just stretch long along the ground. You might wiggle a little bit. You might bring the heels above the knees and rock the hips a little bit side to side, or the legs a little bit side to side. Really, whatever works, whatever feels good. And then from here, we're going to come into a sphinx shape. So just bringing the elbows underneath the knees, or elbows underneath the shoulders, rather. That would be interesting. And we're not going to be here long. We're just kind of just coming here for a moment as a launching point for another posture. You might need a strap or a belt or something for this. So just so you know. And what we're going to do is just bring the right knee next to the right hip. So just bring it up. It doesn't have to be super high. Just slide it along the ground. And then it can be helpful to walk this left leg over some. Again, it's not super necessary, but you can do it if you want. And then we'll bring the left elbow forward and just make a little headstand. So we're rolling over onto the left ribs, and we're on the front of the left hip. And again, you might walk this left foot over a little bit more, left leg over a little bit more. And then let's bend this left leg and grab the foot with the right hand. This is where the strap would come in handy. You could wrap a strap around this left foot. Call this cat grabs tail. Sometimes we use it as a twist. There's already a little bit of twist going on here. But my intention here is a little bit different, which is going to be to get onto the front of the left thigh or quadriceps. Quadriceps are hip flexors. So we use it as a stretch for that. So we just, at first, you might kick into the hand and pull the foot towards you at the same time. Maybe a little bit more space. It can be created by bringing that left knee a little bit more left. But then I want to let go of the kick and just pull the foot in towards the butt. So you get this very nice stretch all the way up the front of the leg. Maybe you don't feel this as much. Again, you're not required to feel this in any intense way. But I'm going to show you something else that you could do if you want a little bit more sensation. Now, if you're here and this is good for you, just stay like this, or you could lengthen the left arm out and just bring your head, make a little pillow with your arm. The other option here would be to come up to a seat and take what we call half saddle. So half saddle would be to bring this the left heel next to the left hip. So you're getting a good stretch here. And then you just start to lean back. I'll show you from the side as well. Actually, this side would probably be best. And so my Left heel is next to my hip here. And then I can begin to make my way back, trying to get a sensation along the front of the left leg. Now this leg doesn't really matter that much. It can be long, it can be in, it can be whatever out to the side. What I'm concerned about is this leg. This is what I want to stretch in. Careful with the knee. As close to 0% sensation in the knee as possible. You might feel a broad stretch over the knee. That's typically okay. What we don't want is like little tiny sensations, intense sensations along the knee. That would be something that we want to back away from. And just settle, finding that nice broad, even stretch. The associated meridians, Chinese medicine, meridians are energy lines or energy highways that run through the body that carry the qi or the prana through the body. The associated meridians are the spleen and the stomach meridians. All the Chinese meridians come in pairs. So the kidney, or the spleen, is the yin organ, and the stomach is the yang organ. Now these aren't really technically associated with the physical organ, though they run through the physical organs. It's not necessarily related to their function. But both these organs, they are, in Chinese medicine, are directly involved in digestion. And so physical nourishment. And so we bring in food, and that nourishment from the food affects all of the other organs, the entire body. This is also where we draw our grain or food qi from, is from these foods that we bring in. And so it's probably intelligent of us to eat food that has more qi in it, more life. The spleen and the stomach meridians, they run up the front of the thigh on either side. And so that's why we're working on the thighs a lot. The quadriceps, the hip flexors. Again, the meridians we're not going to get into that too much. More, we want to focus on the element here. So this idea of nourishment. Just a few more breaths here. Is there any more softening available? Good, you can begin to release this. If you're in the cattail, just release the left foot, lengthen along the ground, and come back to where we were right before the Sphinx posture. We were just lying on the belly. If you're in half saddle and you know you're going to do that on the other side, then just come to a seat or lean back on the hands or something neutral where we can allow the nourishment to happen. can begin to move out of the rebound, stretch, feel around. Again, I'll take you through both options here. Plenty of movement here. We'll come into the Sphinx, unless you're doing the half saddle variation. We'll bring the left knee forward. Perhaps walk the right foot over, or bring the right elbow forward, and then just come way over onto the right ribs, the front of the right leg. Yeah. And then we'll bend the right leg, grab the right foot with the left hand, inside or outside, it doesn't really matter. I usually prefer in. Now kick and pull here, so creating some tension, and then move the leg over a bit if you can. Yeah, and then let go of the kicking and just pull the foot in. Again, feel free to switch up the grip. So I want a good stretch here. Adjust and move. The first part of a yin posture is all about finding the target area, which is the front of the right leg. And then you can lengthen the arm out if you like. This is a really great way to stretch the quads and the hip flexors without putting a lot of pressure on the knee, or at least being more in control of the pressure on the knee. And then for the half saddle, you can always feel free to sit up on a blanket or a block, and we'll bring that right heel next to the hip if you're not already here. Again, the stretch is here, doesn't have to mirror the other side necessarily. And just come back as far as you want to, maybe all the way to the back, maybe to a prop. Really doesn't matter. It's not about the shape, it's about the sensation, the function of the posture. I want to stretch here broad, mild, not super intense, sustainable. Once you find that, then you're doing it. And then you just settle and observe. As we settle and observe, it can be interesting to watch the natural reactions of the body and the mind. Sometimes we're constantly judging our experience or physically reacting to sensation. These reactions run deep, and most of them are unconscious. And so something that's really nice about a practice like this, that's slow and still and mindful and inward focused, is that we start to uncover these hidden patterns that are influencing our lives all the time. And once we notice things, then we can start to create new patterns if necessary. If the pattern's unhealthy, we can alter that. We can change it. This is the real beauty about contemplative practice, yoga, meditation, inquiry, is it gives us more freedom, more agency over our own lives. So we're not beholden to every thought and emotion that arises. We come to a place where intention is the rule, where we decide how we act, respond. It's a really beautiful thing. Just another few breaths here. can begin to come out of this. Again, just like as we did before, you can let go of the right foot and lengthen along the ground. If you're in the half saddle, just come back up to a seat or something that's comfortable. And this rebound is where the nourishment happens. If you think about it, when we're in these yin postures where it's almost a little aggressive. We're actually putting pressure on particular areas, creating tension or compression, and cutting off flow of fluid and energy. We do that to engage the healing response of the body, so that when we release the pose, that area becomes flooded with those nourishing things. Blood, fluid, energy. And so this rebound is very necessary and important, maybe the most important part of the yin practice. Begin to come out of this. Let's begin by stretching and moving a bit. If you're up in a seat, you might circle the torso around. If you're still lying down, you might press yourself back to all fours, which we'll all eventually do. Come to fours and move through cow and cat. Drop back to child's pose. Again, whatever serves you, whatever works. Perhaps even a downward dog or something like a downward dog, just lifting up and pedaling the heels. And then for our next posture, you can come into it from all fours or from downward facing dog. We're going to come into Swan pose, which is yin for pigeon. And so we just bring this left knee forward towards the left wrist, and then we bring the foot towards the right edge of the mat. So we're starting on the left side. And then we'll walk the hips back, or walk the knee back rather. Now I want you to spend the first part of this practice just feeling around. So twist a bit, even allow the hip to drop down. I know that may be against the rules for some people, but not in yin. In yin, we're allowed to do that. Feel, notice. This may not be an appropriate posture for you for this, so I'll show you a couple of different things. One thing you could do is drop this hip all the way down, this left hip, and then bring this right knee forward, call this deer pose. And then you can play with this shin. We want, as close to zero sensation in the knee. It's not worth knee injury to get your shin in a particular place. So be cautionary with the knees. And then if you're in deer, you just fold out over the leg, over the shin, over the knee, over the foot. Again, what we're looking for is a stretch in the left hip. So the glutes, the outer hip, underneath the hip, the piriformis external rotators, the IT band. It's a pretty big area, so anything in that area is where we want the stretch. Another option is to bring the left shin on top of the right shin. Called the shoelace, or you may know it as square pose, or Agni Shambhasana, something like that. Or if you'd rather come to your back and do eye of the needle posture, that's perfectly fine too. Again, all we're looking for is a stretch here, and all of those poses do that. So again, from the side, it's the glutes, the external rotators underneath, and then the IT band, that whole area. Once you're finished exploring, of course, you settle in. And breathe. Always relenting to the exhale. The exhale is the primary aspect of the breath. We all know how to inhale. That's never the problem. But not all of us are good exhalers. And so we work on that. We're dealing with the elements. There's also, there can be too much of a particular energy or too little of a particular energy. And so once we start to learn the elements, we can see through our behavior, through how our body's feeling, through our intuitions and things like this, what's in and out of balance, and what practices or what can we do to help balance these elements out. And so with the earth element, something that's excessive, or if there's too much earth, again in Chinese medicine it's called excess. You can think of a mother who is overprotective, who shelters the children. It's fearful. Or meddlesome, trying to be too involved. Overbearing, trying to control. Too much control. And so not giving, not allowing for freedom and space. Deficient earth energy looks like neediness or clinginess, a vacillating energy, or a scatteredness, not grounded. We've all been there before where we need to ground. We talk about this. Grounding our energy, connecting with the earth. This clinginess of almost like the mother and the child have switched roles, you know. And so we can notice these energies in ourselves and then create practices and eat foods and things that balance out these energies. From here, from our swan, we're just going to drop over to the left hip and then swing the legs out in front. And let's keep the left leg extended and bring the right foot to the inside of the left thigh. We'll bring the left elbow to the inside of the left thigh. Maybe a little bit of pressure, just so there's this turning up. And then we're just going to open out to the side to expand across the chest and then just lift up. If your hamstrings are pretty tight or in the way, you can lift this knee, no problem. And really, we just want to move here. I'm not trying to find a stationary posture. I just like to move for a few minutes here, just to open up the side body, to get a little bit into the inner leg. And so you might open up and twist open, or lift up to create some space, or even reach all the way over to the foot if you'd like to. But yeah, if you want to find something stationary, it's perfectly fine, but I just find it nice to move, feel, be with. And then we're just going to come back to center into a meditation posture once again. A big inhale and a long exhale to settle, rebound, never losing touch with the internal experience. Good. Let's come forward and just start to move through the cow and the cat, downward dogs, just as we did on the other side, and eventually just following a path to the right side of this posture, of the swan pose. Go through all those variations, really feel into this with a sense of curiosity. Again, the idea is not to find some shape, some perfect shape that we can find and do forever. That's never going to happen. Our body's changing every day, and so bringing a sense of curiosity to your practice every time you do it is essential with connecting with what the body actually needs. And so that's another part of nourishing, is an adaptation of being curious enough to see what the body needs. Trying to find the perfect shape is a very yang thing. It's like, it's devoid of curiosity. It's the mind dictating to the body what it should be doing. We want the body to lead the way in this practice. We receive the gift of the practice through our curiosity. Yeah? Perhaps you begin to settle by now. The exhale is drawing you into yourself. You might even begin to connect with the gravitational pull of the earth, drawing you towards center. The earth's center and to your own center. Let all of the tension melt into the earth. The earth can absorb it for sure. The Tibetan Buddhists often use the archetype of the mother as the ultimate symbol of compassion. Not only does the mother carry the child for 9 months plus, the mother's nourishment is the baby's nourishment. But then after that, caring for the baby, nurturing the baby would be helpless without some sort of nourishment. And maybe this didn't come from an actual mother. It could have come from some other type of caregiver. But we've all received a mothering. And we can all possibly picture or know what this mother's like. And so in this symbolism in Tibetan Buddhism, the mother gives of itself for the well-being of the other. It takes the responsibility of nourishing the other, giving of itself. But the mother also nourishes herself. Nothing's depleted. It's regenerative. Yeah, stay with this another minute. Another aspect of the mother in Tibetan Buddhism is through this, the teachings of reincarnation. Whether you subscribe to it or not, the symbolism is really interesting in that we've lived so many lives, that we've all been each other's mother. And not just each other human, but each being's mother. And so we should care for all beings as if we have been their mother. Again, it's just symbolism. It's just a way of relating and encouraging compassion. Good, just like the other side. We'll come out of this by lifting up and then coming over to the right hip. Let's swing the legs out around. And then we'll extend the right leg out or keep it extended. Bring the left foot to the inside. Right elbow to the inside of the right thigh. Light pressure on the inside, perhaps. Maybe bringing the hand down, and then we'll just reach out. Again, the purpose here is just to create a little bit of movement in the side body. Often ignored side body. But let's just feel around into it. Moving the shoulder, reaching in interesting ways, just attitude of curiosity. Just a minute or so, not long. Good, and then we'll just come up and find a seat again. just bring the hands behind the back and just press the fingertips down into the ground so the palms are up, and just lift the chest. Open the heart. Extend the spine. And then release this. Let's come out to just a nice wide-legged forward fold. Inner legs are the target. If this is really tough for you, either you have tight adductors or hamstrings, you can bring a little bend to the knees. You could also do one leg at a time if you want to. I'll let you know when we're about halfway through. So you could bring the right leg in, just still fold down through center. Another way to do this is you could just bring the soles of the feet together and just bring the heels in enough to where you get some sensation in the inner leg. Again, whichever way works for you today. And we want to let go of this achievement-oriented attitude and more of just a sensation, a what do we need, what's appropriate sort of orientation. And we just come forward. I like to lead with the heart at first, more of an active way, just to see what's happening, and then eventually I'll start to round. I might even bring a block underneath the head. And just relax. If you'd like to keep the spine extended, that's perfectly fine as well. It's not always necessary in Yin Yoga to let go of everything. It's impossible in some cases, but sometimes we need the active support of other parts of the body to release in our target area. We call this peripheral engagement. I know for me in this posture, especially when I first started doing it, it could be pretty intense. And it was hard to differentiate between the sensation of stretch or tension and engagement. And so feel into, breathe into these more intense spots with the goal of just letting go as much as you can. There can be little tiny engagements happening all over the place. It can be deep, and those layers start to eventually show themselves. But what's required of us here is just to be patient and to be curious. This idea of curiosity is one that has helped me a whole lot in this practice. Not just of yoga, but of life. So just settle, relax, and make your awareness as thorough as possible. Connect with the exhale. More space here, just a little bit more. Begin to slowly come out of this if you're ready. It's all the way up. Just take a little moment with an extended spine. And we're just going to make our way down to our back. I like to bring the hands to the inner knees, lift, slide the feet in, then grab behind the knees, and then lower all the way down like that. But just come down in a way that's easeful for you, and we'll just take a Shavasana. Other option is just to come to a meditation seat if you'd rather do that. And once down there, let's take an exhale together. And then a big inhale, filling up. And then naturally letting go. And again, inhale, expand in all directions. Passively expanding. And then exhale. And once again, inhale. And exhale. A few more times like that if you want. And then just settling into just a quiet, easeful, natural breath. And just completely let go of the body, connecting with this gravitational pull of the earth. Just feel the body, feeling beneath the body, maybe even down into the earth itself, 10 feet or so. Even if you're in a building, even if you're multiple stories up, there's still earth energy in it. The foundations run deep into the earth, and so that earth energy is still running through the building, and so we can still connect with it. And so you connect into the earth, even through the building, feeling down even deeper, deeper, hundreds of feet into the earth. Even deeper still, connecting with this mother, this nurturing. We all come from this earth, made up of the substance of this earth. Recently came across this quote from Mark Whitwell, the teacher, yoga teacher, and it really speaks to this idea of us and our part of nature, and I think he put it really beautifully. He says, "You are nature." You are nature. If you look at a bird or a tree or a flower and see the beauty, this beauty is no different than what you are. You are the beauty. But we try to capture beauty with the brain. We try to experience the beauty, maybe hold on to it, savor it, or desire to duplicate the experience. But the brain will never capture beauty. It cannot even capture experience. It is too slow. You are beauty, so you don't have to capture it. So relax and stop looking. The power of the cosmos is arising as you, as utter beauty, intelligence, and function, and all things. Enjoy Mother Nature directly, in you and as you. Let's take another big inhale. And a long exhale. And just begin to move, stretch, feel, nourish, breathe. We'll begin to find our way up to a seat, a comfortable seat. Bring the palms together. Anjali Mudra, symbol of connection and peace and safety. May you find nourishment within yourselves, and may you find the capacities to nourish one another. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes and conditions of suffering. Namaste.